with air conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where you folks are, but here in Southern California,
Here in sunny Southern
it's a
California,
furnace
it is
outside.
both sunny and southern.
Boy,
Yeah.
wow.
Ja.
Yeah, I know other parts of the country have been suffering longer in different ways, but wow. Boy, oh boy. I feel very fortunate to be right where I am right now.
Yes. Inside.
Mm-hmm.
Mate. All right. It's like, it's working. Don't you start with me. Okay. There we go.
Technology.
Yeah. Wild, ain't it?
Technology. Friend
Wild,
or
ain't it?
enemy.
Both at the same time. Both things at the same time somehow. It's working.
Just talk amongst yourselves.
Well, you could talk.
I'm
the one
talk.
doing this.
That's right.
So what happens whenever I don't speak is my dad just stops. And I sometimes have to remind him that he is actually allowed to exist when I'm not there. So while I make sure that it's working on all the various platforms,
right,
you can speak. Also, I just realized we're both wearing purple.
You just realized?
I did. What color does it look like you're wearing? What color do you think it is? Does it look purple?
Well, it's a guess.
It's a guess. My dad's colorblind, which we've talked about a little bit.
And I have to explain about colorblindness. It doesn't mean that I don't see a range of colors.
He just sees the wrong ones.
I see a whole spectrum of colors, but I have color identification issues.
You know, with how everything has to be said nowadays, that's probably, instead of calling it color blindness, they'll call it color identification issues. You know, color identification issues. But that's about
blue
it.
And purple.
Blue, purple, pink. That's one section he gets wrong. Brown, green, orange. He gets those wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So even as a little kid, because it's just kind of fascinating, the idea that he's looking at something and seeing it wrong. Because obviously each one of us sees color differently, which also fascinates me. But the idea that you're looking at something and I'm looking at it too, but it's a completely different color.
Yeah.
Also the fact that because brains are fascinating, when you know that something is supposed to be a color, he can see it in the correct color. So grass, for example, to him in many cases looks orange. But because his brain knows that it's green, it's somehow green. Witchcraft, I tell you.
Sometimes people ask me about traffic lights. Well, traffic lights are always arranged the same way.
They have to be.
Yeah.
But that's why. They have to be, because otherwise...
Would I know that was green? Independent?
Sure wouldn't.
Nope.
Sure wouldn't. Anyway, hello, everybody.
Hi
hello,
there.
Friends. How are you all? Now that I see we're working everywhere, I can put my phone away for the moment. Hello, hello, hello. I wrote to you a few weeks ago that I was looking for a translation of the expanded version of Mice and Magic. Since there isn't one, since there isn't one, I bought the English and am enjoying every line. Thank you.
Oh, well, that's very nice to hear.
Thank you so much, Michael. That's really kind.
Very rewarding.
It's pretty neat. My English is great today. So we were not with you last weekend because we were at Comic-Con,
San Diego Comic-Con.
Whoa. Speaking of heat, it's one of the worst, I would say one of the worst Comic-Con weathers we've had in a very long time. It was so humid. More than just being hot, it was so humid.
It was the first time we've ever gone there and been affected by
that
weather.
degree. No. The humidity is always a bit of an issue, but this was like a new level of humidity. And it was really frustrating because you kind of couldn't do anything. You wanted to go and walk around a bit more, and then you just felt yourself dying. And so you stopped. It was nuts, but it's always such an interesting, experience. Our panel went well and it was full, and we're always extremely grateful for that. Our You're Wrong, Leonard Maltin panel. I love doing it so much.
We don't take that for granted. I mean, we've been doing it now about 5-6 years.
Something like that, yeah.
And
and it's really nice. And a lot of people come every year because they enjoy it, which is also great. We had a blast. We always have a good time. Elizabeth says, do you guys call each other up when you are getting dressed? It's honestly funny just because we have been around each other all morning and I just didn't realize we were wearing the same color.
Of course, mine is advertising Vitaphone.
Yes, and mine is pajamas. Elizabeth says, happy to see your happy faces. Thanks. And I get the eyesight qualification thing. Oh, I'm what they call blind field, aka dyslexic with complications. I'm super dyslexic, both with numbers and letters. So I very much understand how that works for you. What's your dad's pin of the day? He's not wearing a pin because he's wearing a t-shirt. But on any given day, there are so many fun options of pins to choose. Next weekend, this coming weekend, is going to be D23.
Which is the Disney, if you don't know, is the Disney convention.
They do it every 2 years.
Sometime about a decade ago,
yeah,
the Disney folks said to themselves, why are we paying to rent all this space?
Yeah, why don't we just have our own?
At Comic-Con, why don't we just do our own?
Yeah, why don't we just have our own Comic-Con?
Yeah.
And they do that now, and they do it every 2 years. And
in Anaheim, the Anaheim Convention Center.
Yep. And
which is adjacent to Disneyland.
It's insane, but it's fun. Yes, Harrison, the logo on the shirt is a Warner Brothers Vitaphone talking picture. That's what his shirt says. D23 is always bonkers, just as Comic-Con is, but it's more so because they don't do it every year. Remember, Comic-Con has been going for a very long time now. Yeah. Did it just hit 50 years?
Yeah.
And, generally, while certain things have changed, for the most part, it's pretty solidly what it is. Whereas with Disney, especially because they acquire different things in that time, they have acquired Star Wars and stuff like that. So early D23, we loved it because it focused on what D23 is supposed to be, which is the archive stuff,
right? And they
classic Disney.
And they moved their annual Legends ceremony, down there.
They moved. They now do it in person at that event. And even with that, because Disney, ABC is a part of it. That's why you get somebody like Oprah Winfrey being a Disney legend. You get people, like Mark Hamill is now a Disney legend because they own Star Wars. Do I think of Mark Hamill when I think of Disney? No.
Or vice versa.
But at the same time, I understand, they're doing what they think the people want. So here we are. No schedule for D23 Expo live streams yet. Yeah, I can't begin. I don't even look, to be honest, because we don't go to any of the panels. We have the stuff that we're doing. And then the rest of it is just sort of us wandering around and trying not to get lost, and my mother buying everything.
Either 2 or 4 years ago, we were, I think someone was escorting us.
It's longer than that, Daddy.
Is it?
It's like 6 or 8.
And they have these pop-up stores all through this enormous convention center. There are exhibitions, and Disney Music is there. It used to be Disney Records, Disney Music.
Yeah.
Disney Publishing has a booth there. All different facets of the company. And your mother noticed a pop-up store, and then there were...
No, so what it was is that there was a kitchen, and somebody was cooking in the kitchen. They had a chef was there cooking in the kitchen. They'd had a kitchen set up because why not? And next to it was displayed their new line that they had just done with Ethan Allen, this collaboration with Ethan Allen.
Furniture.
And so they had a long kitchen table, chairs, some other stuff set up. So a bunch of people were watching the cooking demonstration. And my dad was getting tired, so he just took a seat at this Ethan table, and Ethan Allen table. He just sat down to take a break, and a line formed to take pictures with him and ask for his autograph. And we'd been given a plaid, and they are sort of your escorts while you're there for the day. They normally work in the park, but during D23, they get assigned to people. So we had this really lovely guy, Michael, who I'm still friends with. And people just started lining up. So he and I were just taking photos. We were, snapping away, and they asked for a photo. He signed stuff for them, and it went on for like an hour and a half, and it was absolutely surreal. And people kept saying, how long is he going to be here? We said, he just sat down. Honestly, this is not a thing. It's not in a calendar. He just sat down and it happened. So
that was funny. But we were walking, and there was a pop-up store, and then we noticed that there was behind a velvet rope and stanchions, there was a lineup of people waiting patiently. And your mother said, "Who are those people?" Oh, they won the lottery to be able to come and shop at this exclusive store of Disney merchandise that'll only be sold here at D23. So you not only pay to get in, but
then you get in line. It's not a life I can lead, but I love that people want to do it. I respect that very much.
The enthusiasm level is
and people get all dressed up. It's wonderful. Make sure I get this one. Here we go. I'm curious, what is the difference between a Comic-Con and something like Cinevent or Capital Fest? So first is the name. There is one big Comic-Con, SDCC, San Diego Comic-Con. That's the big daddy. That is the one that people dream of going to. It's absolutely massive. And it's sort of the one that I think kicked off everything else.
Probably the New York one. The New York Comic-Con may have been first.
Yeah.
But San Diego got adopted by the movie studios.
Yeah. But that happened later. That's the thing. The movie studio stuff is just the 2000s.
Relatively recent. Yeah.
But it's just, so it used to be more art-based, comic collectors. And then it got into movies and all sorts of other stuff. And that's why it's the behemoth that it is. The difference is just really simply sort of what something is associated with. So there are tons of conventions that go on all around the world.
Oh, yeah.
And there are people who that becomes their job. They go to all these cons and they take pictures and they sign stuff and they make money, and that's how they do it. So there are people who every single weekend are at a different con, which is wild. It's not the same thing as a film festival, because a film festival is a film festival.
Yeah, I mean, the ones you named, Cinevent and
Capital
Fest and all that, that's essentially just showing old movies.
Mm-hmm.
And that's great.
And the seller's room is for people who collect that kind of thing, whether it's films or stills or anything like that.
Yeah.
So it's just very specific. That's the difference. Comic-Con, as I say, used to be focused on animation, comics, that kind of
original
thing.
Artwork.
And then, as I say, in the 2000s, when they started involving, Twilight was the first really big movie that they got involved in. And from there, it has now become this thing where huge announcements are made.
It's become a pop culture event with a capital E.
And everybody just gets schlepped down there. It's hilarious to see the photos because there are so many people, so many celebrities that they bring, whether it's for a panel or just for interviews or for press, anything. And it really is kind of mind-blowing because it's all in this relatively small area. There's a bunch of hotels. It's the Gas Lamp, downtown San Diego. And it just suddenly fills. And it's sort of all consuming. But what's hilarious is all you have to do is go a couple of blocks any direction and it's not there. So it's wild to have everything, as they say, just sort of concentrated right in this spot.
They buy off the sides of buildings.
Oh yeah, all the hotels are bought, things like that.
The elevator doors at the hotel.
But I don't know if you've noticed this, but over the last few years, they stopped doing keys. They stopped buying. It used to be that your hotel room key would be an ad for something for Comic-Con. The last few years, they haven't done it.
Yeah.
I wonder if it wasn't working, or if somebody said we don't want so much plastic.
The COVID interruption.
Everything changed.
Just changed everything.
And then the strike.
Yes.
Because obviously last year was a big deal because the strike was going on, the writer's strike and the actor's strike.
Mm-hmm.
So none of them could attend. So last year was a very different animal, which was kind of wild, but fun. Do you have any recommendations for Donald Duck shorts for his 90th birthday? Sorry, 90th anniversary, 90th birthday.
Well, so many. Well, the band concert, which is a Mickey Mouse cartoon, is where Donald really establishes himself as the what today we'd call a disruptor. Donald the Disruptor.
He is.
And
He's very much
that's
that.
great. And then I love the trio films of Mickey, Donald, Goofy, like Clock Cleaners.
Clock Cleaners is my
Special
favorite.
favorite of ours.
Clock Cleaners is my very favorite.
And just about my favorite Donald short is only recommendable to people who are already very familiar with Donald, and that's Donald's Dilemma. It's the one where a flower pot hits him on the head, and he suddenly acquires Ronald Colman's voice, his mellifluous speaking voice, and Daisy has to bring him back to himself. It's a wonderfully funny cartoon.
Hi, Raphael in the Dominican Republic. You guys are doing very well in the Olympics. Congratulations on that. There is something truly hilarious about the entire world suddenly paying attention to this thing. And it's global. And you're having conversations with people about sports you didn't even know existed. My parents are coming down going, "What is BMX? It looks terrifying." It just kind of blows you away. It's such an interesting time because it's very rare that we all watch something, right? It almost never happens. Again, outside of COVID, where suddenly we were trapped, it's very rare that the entire world is paying attention to something. And then you also have to love that people who've never heard of a sport are suddenly experts in the sport. I love that. I absolutely agree that Snoop Dogg is one of the best things about this Olympics. He's hilarious and having so much fun. I'm sorry, I'm messing with my hair. I'm warm. And I've been loving that. The Muppets are there, which was truly hilarious and so cute. We've been having fun. We've been having fun watching all of that like everybody else. Frank, a couple of you are saying that you went and saw Deadpool and Wolverine. And what do you say? Frank says, did Leonard think it suffered from over length? He has not seen it. After we had our whole conversation, I told him, I said, you don't know the first or the second one. I don't think the third's going to make sense unless we all see it together, unless my husband and I see it together. So he is not. My husband really wants to see it though. But one second.
Donald's dream voice is not the cartoon I'm thinking of.
Yeah. Well, that dream
Donald's
voice one,
Dilemma.
doesn't he sort of become Frank Sinatra in that one? In the dream one where it's ba 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 ba, or I guess Bing Crosby. I'm saying Frank Sinatra, yeah. Bing Crosby, because he does the ba 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 thing. Do you think the infamous pole vaulter will land a Hollywood agent after what happened? I read a meme that essentially said, when you are a loser and a winner at the same time. Do you know what she's talking about?
No.
A pole vaulter just about made it over this extremely high, and I think it was one of those, like, he would have broken a world record. And as he went over, his crotch hit the pole and knocked it off. And that's the most polite way I can describe it if you don't know what happened. And so everyone had the same reaction of like, you have won and lost at the same time, sir. That was remarkable. And watching it play again and again is just hysterical because you're just like, ay, 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 so close. Hi, Daisy. Hi, Daisy.
Arthur's bringing up another great Donald Duck cartoon, The Fuhrer's Face.
Oh, such a good one.
Hi, Bub. Which I actually first saw on television. On the Disney.
I'm not done yet. No, I have a little bit longer to do. Do you want to come here? You want your show? Okay, can I help you? So this is one of those you can keep talking.
Yes, I can. It's distracting when my granddaughter comes in because she's.
Say hi?
Yeah. She too is a natural disruptor. An adorable disruptor.
Hi. Daisy, can you say hi?
Hi.
Hi. Hi. You kick that. Thank you.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Watch your show. Good job, honey.
Should we go downstairs? Mommy has to work. Come on.
I'll be done soon, my love. Anyway, would also mention Humphrey, the bear shorts with Donald. Yes. Yes.
Oh, yeah. Those are fun. Those from the 1950s.
Yeah. Did your dad get to see the new 4K restoration of The Searchers?
No, I did not.
Is that the one that went wrong?
No. It was.
What's the one? Was it
North
Steven?
by Northwest?
Is that okay?
Yeah.
That's what it was. He saw it and it wasn't. Yeah. Yeah. She is getting so big, Victoria. They, as you know, they grow so very, 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 very fast, and it's kind of wild to experience. 2 years ago, when we were at D23 with Daisy, she couldn't walk yet, and now she's going to be running the entire floor. Lord help us.
Yes, the Furious Face was shown on network television I can't tell you exactly when, but in the late 50s, early 60s on the Disney TV show. And as were a lot of World War II cartoons and films that today would not be advisable to show. Like Bugs Bunny nips the nips, things like that. Somehow, I guess the lingering effects of World War II and the fact that it was so much closer to the time when all that happened meant people didn't get upset or they weren't shocked that there was still some aftermath.
Yeah.
I remember seeing the Frank Sinatra short, The House I Live in school. And that's about tolerance, racial tolerance. But he refers to the enemy as the Japs, which makes it hard to show today.
Yeah. There's a lot of that, where it's tricky. If you for Jesse, do people your age prefer Grease 2 over Grease? I find that people who grew up with cable seem to prefer Grease 2.
Well, put a cable around their neck.
I'll be honest with you. Grease 2 does nothing for me. Most of my friends, I don't even think are aware there is a Grease 2. I think it's one of those things where when people discover it, they're sort of amazed that there was one, and then so few people talk about it. But I don't know.
There's a reason so few people.
There's that, yeah.
That was one of the first films I reviewed on Entertainment
I know,
Tonight.
I remember. I don't remember it happening.
And it's the one time, because I was newish.
Yeah.
When a Paramount executive called one of the producers at ET. We weren't yet on the lot. We were still on Vine Street, Merv Griffin's place, and said, "What's this with your critic knocking a Paramount film on a Paramount TV show?"
He said, "Well, it's not very good, so not a whole lot I can do about
Fortunately, I wasn't the only one who said it wasn't good.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a maverick review.
Right.
So, but my producer, thank goodness, said, "Hey, that's his opinion, and we're not going to dictate his opinions."
Yeah. Every now and then.
Dodged a bullet then.
What was the story about 4K for North by Northwest? A friend of ours was at the screening at the Egyptian and said that the restoration, basically they couldn't.
Well, it may have been that performance, and it may have been the way the settings were established by the projectionist. I'm not blaming anybody, and I'm not accusing anybody.
Yeah.
There's a savvy friend of mine said that the music and effects track
drowning out
the dialogue.
Yeah.
In the new 70 millimeter print of North by Northwest, which would be a shame.
Yeah.
A crime.
So they sort of came out confused and shocked. But that was a bit of one. My film friends are of the mind that Grease 2 is in the so bad it's good category. Well, that's the thing. A lot of people feel that way about it. I honestly watched it once and have never seen it again. So I don't know. You're saying I actually prefer Grease 2 over Grease. I think it's much more fun. Hope I don't lose my cinema buff card. Well, this is the thing.
Opinions.
What's amazing, and this is true of everything, music, movies, food, whatever, is no one is going to like everything and no one is going to hate, you're going to find things that you enjoy. And also remember, when did you see something? How old were you? Were you with friends? There's a lot that adds to it, I think, and sort of the emotional connection to something. And so that's why you can't say, let's say you feel like you had the best meal of your life somewhere. Well, was the best meal of your life at a really beautiful restaurant with a bunch of friends? Where you're just having a great time and the food was perfect? Is that all part of it, or was it just that the food was good? I think there's just lots of pieces and you don't really know. And that's why I would never judge anybody who loves something. The only time I get mad is if people are dismissive in general. So if somebody says, well, if you don't like blank, then you're stupid. or if you
Yeah.
like such
Yeah.
and such, then you have no taste.
Yeah.
Well, that's not true. Everybody has a thing. Well, that's it. Yeah. Michelle Pfeiffer, a lot of people love seeing Michelle Pfeiffer in that, which I completely understand. Yeah. Grease came out the year I graduated high school. It just hit for me. Of course. Well, like, for me being a theater kid, of course, in choir, we sang a bunch of the Grease songs. You learn the hand jive when you're in 5th grade and you all sing the hand jive while doing the moves. So, I think that Grease is one of those movies that you get introduced to quite young.
Yeah.
So it has that effect. It very much has that effect of going, oh, I love this. And when I was younger, they had just started doing the screenings where people would dress up to go see it and sing along. I went to a sing along with Mia Trams and her mom, my friend Mia and her mom. We were probably 12.
A Grease sing along?
Yep. And
Wow.
we got all dressed up. I'd found my mom had these great glasses that were real that she'd had from the time she was young. And I had those on and it was just a blast. So yeah, as I say, I think everything kind of comes, it all depends. And I don't think anybody should be judged for any of it. I will say, I have a question for you guys. How many of you have been to the Academy Museum? And I'm going to behave as I discuss it. But how many of you have been? I ask because I went for the first time the other day. And most polite way possible, I'm going to say it's not good, I felt. I don't like it.
So
How did
you're
you
also-
feel?
You're always, I see disappointed would be.
There were 2 words that I said when I came home: shock and disappointment. Shock that it is terrible. Disappointed that it is terrible is kind of how I felt. And I'll tell you why very specifically. To me, what do we think of when we think of the Academy? Well, for most people, it's the Oscars. Most people think of the Oscars. That's kind of the only time most people outside of our industry even really think about it. They think about it when this, when this big event happens every
Right.
year.
But the Academy, in fact, functions 365 days a year.
And if you live here, you'll know they do screenings all the time. They have lots of events. They're very active. But again,
And they have an incredible library.
Oh yeah, well, no, the archive at the Academy is incredible. And a friend of ours who is going to retire, has retired, was there for years. His name is Randy Haberkamp, and he did such a good job. He worked so hard, to keep that archive functioning and useful for people as well.
Yep.
It's a working archive. People reach out for things all of the time. So the problem I have is that even from the outside, you don't know what this building is. You do not know that this building represents what it does. And considering the hundreds of millions of dollars they spent on this building, to look at it from the outside and then walk into the lobby, which is this gray industrial thing, you go, this is it? Because in my mind, it should look lush. Because you also have at your fingertips some of the best designers, production designers, costume design. You have everybody at your fingertips. And the idea that you could make this look like anything.
Yeah.
It could look absolutely incredible.
I will say that
be...
the lobby looks like the Beverly Hills Savings and Loan. There's nothing.
Mm-mm.
There's nothing as you walk into this rather large lobby that indicates anything to do with movie making,
this gray
Hollywood, show business.
Thing.
And I
walked in and
really
I said,
surprised.
I was shocked. I walked in and I went, no, this can't be what this looks like. Okay. And then, we're walking around and I just keep saying to myself, how do they not have posters on the wall? How do they not? There's nothing, because there's nothing on display in there. They don't have pieces out like most places that you would go, most museums that you would go to, would have something as you what? Nothing. It is literally dark gray and industrial. Very confusing to me. As I say, if you walked in there, you would not know where you were.
It was.
You would have absolutely no idea where you were.
It was the May Company, big
Mhm.
department store, a big upscale department store.
Yeah.
In LA at the corner of Fairfax
Yeah.
Avenue.
Thank you.
Wilshire
Thanks for
Boulevard.
talking about the Academy Museum. I felt it was the museum equivalent of a block of tofu. I'll be honest with you. That's kind of how I felt. So we walk in, and it was me. Friends of mine were really, really excited to see the John Waters exhibit before it left. There was a big John Waters exhibit. So we said, all right, we're going to do this. It was 4 parents with 3 kids. And God help us, we were just determined. So you walk in to this grayness that I don't understand. And then we go over to the elevator because we've all got our strollers, and we go up, and the doors open, and it's gray. It's continued this dark gray. And there's a couple of things on the wall, kind of, but you don't really know what you're looking at. And then we went in to the John Waters exhibit, and it's great. They have so much cool stuff, and that was really neat. And we walked through it. And then that's when the kids were pretty much like, okay, we're done now. So me and one of the other moms, we went all the way up to the roof because I wanted to see, they have this building. It's 2 buildings next to each other. One is like a circle. And I kept joking. So because so many people have paid for different aspects of it, there's the Barbra Streisand Bridge. Me being me, I'm thinking, if this is not the gayest bridge in the world, then what are we here for? Every gay person should have to come out across that bridge when they tell their families, like, this should be the way. It is this ugly gray walkway. And I was just like, how did you do this to Barbra Streisand? How did you hear how high my voice is? How did you do that? How could you do this to Barbra Streisand? Fine. We walk across to this big top area, and it has a gorgeous view. You can see a lot of the city. It's lovely. You can see the Hollywood sign in the distance. Great. Also looks like nothing, but again, whatever. So just as we walked and went to different levels and then finally left and walked back towards LACMA, which is next to it, the LA County Museum of Art, we just all had the same reaction of like, this is the Academy Museum? This is it? And shock and disappointment. So no, Nick, I'm totally serious when I say it. As a person who again, as a musical theater kid through and through, growing up with a whole lot of different people in my life, we can all accept that Barbra is for our gays. I don't think anybody will argue on that one. Barbra is for our gays. And so her having this ugly bridge just made me deeply, deeply sad, because Barbra deserves better than an ugly bridge. Anyway, it was just like flump.
I'm going to reserve my comments
because he'll get in trouble. Anyway, so that's how I felt. They have great stuff that comes in, obviously, again, we're very lucky that we're here and that so many cool things can be brought into the museum. It just seems
I've not seen the animation exhibit.
Yeah.
2.0.
Yeah.
I saw the first one, which is a permanent exhibition room that they're going to refresh every now and then. But the first one was outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
They had everything. They had one of Lottie Reiniger's silhouette puppets. They had a Winsor McKay, Gertie the Dinosaur drawing. They had Bob Clampett's maquette of Bugs Bunny from the early 40s. Some really, really good stuff.
Yeah. Well, because if they can't get it, then who can?
Sure.
They have access to so much.
Their own collection. Years ago, I did a piece for Entertainment Tonight about the Academy Library, essentially, and their collection. And Linda Mayer, the longtime librarian there, brought out a handwritten letter from Marilyn Monroe to John Huston explaining why she decided not to participate in his movie about Freud, which starred Montgomery Clift. But it's on a piece of hotel stationery. It's just like, Marilyn Monroe wrote this letter to
Mm.
John Huston. Wow. And they had the first couple of pages of Alex North's famous score for Streetcar Named Desire
Mhm.
in his hand.
It's
All
amazing.
the notations on the musical staffs. They had there's a character actress in the 30s named Minna Gombel, see the Thin Man, the original Thin Man, and you'll see her prominent there. She collected autographs. She was an autograph collector who was one of the professionals in town. Well, they have that autograph book, and
Yeah.
it's full of incredible stuff. To a fellow player.
Yeah.
I mean, they have so much wonderful material
Yeah.
without even having to reach out to collectors.
Yeah.
And other
It's there
archives and
already.
museums. But none of that's on display.
Yeah. I just, in summation, I think it should look a lot nicer than it does. I think that you should feel the glamour of Hollywood, especially for folks. If we're lucky, if you live here, it means you can go see all these different exhibits, and that's fantastic to have that at your fingertips. My God, so lucky to have that here.
Yep.
But for people who come to visit,
Yeah.
and certainly because we have never had, which seems kind of crazy, like a real Hollywood museum, as in like this is a big boy.
Yeah.
We love, speaking of the Hollywood, we love the Hollywood Museum,
which is in the historic Max Factor building.
Yep. And
just off Hollywood Boulevard.
So much love has gone into that place. And the owner, she cares so deeply. And that's a wonderful spot to check out.
And we love the Hollywood Heritage
Yep. The barn
Museum, which is the DeMille Lasky barn.
Yep.
Which is placed just opposite the Hollywood Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And which stood for years on the Paramount lot. Was even used as a gymnasium. This is the structure where DeMille shot The Squaw Man, often referred to as the first movie made in Hollywood. It's not, but it's where he shot this. It's where he made this landmark movie.
Yeah. Cheryl says maybe they need to take a page out of Planet Hollywood's book of decorating and design. But that's the thing. That's exactly what it needs. It needs some flash. It needs something that makes you feel like you're going into a special place, because you are. Thank you. Evanier says the best movie museum is the Maltin House. Well, look, because it's joy, right? You collect because it brings you joy. You display because it brings you joy. To me, when you have a space like the Academy Museum, it should bring you joy. And you should walk in and go, wow, I can't wait to see all of these things in one place. How lucky to have access to these things in one place, Have you talked to Jacqueline Stewart about it? No, and she's not there anymore. So that is, she has left. Movies are a gateway to glamour and fantasy. The museum does not reflect that. That's how I feel. We were saying, there should be, call it cheesy if you want, there should be a red carpet. There should be at the very least some sort of a faux paparazzi area. I know they have a thing that's like Experience the Oscars and you have to pay extra to go to that. But to me, it should be that when you come in.
Yeah.
You should feel those things. Because again, when you walk into, there are a lot of amazing museums in this world. And there's so many where you walk in and instantly you just go, wow. And it's exciting. And that's what I want to feel.
Well, this was a subject of debate from day one. I was invited to participate in an early think tank type meeting about this museum. And I was sitting with the late Richard Schickel, and with the great film editor Walter Murch, and I forget who else was there. But one camp felt that it should be a museum of artifacts, historical artifacts that help symbolize and encapsulate what, the history of Hollywood was up to the present day. And the other camp felt it should be a participatory experience. You can get to sit on a camera crane, ride a camera crane.
Yeah.
And look through the viewfinder.
Yeah.
And that argument continued for many, many years. Not argument, that debate.
Yeah.
Continued for many, many years.
But I think the answer is it should be both.
Yeah.
I think that it should be both. Yeah, a few of you are mentioning, like Frank is saying, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Absolutely. You should walk in and feel that. There should be that feeling of excitement, knowing that you're somewhere. I mean, why don't they have a great old camera on display when you walk in? Why don't they have even something like animation? Get one of those giant, the plane camera, the multi-plane cameras. Get some of that stuff in there. Again, you have access to it. Why would you not put it out and be excited about it? I'm excited thinking about it. Somebody just asked how to compare it. How does it compare to the Walt Disney Family Museum? The answer is it doesn't.
Walt Disney Family Museum is an idea that was perfectly realized.
Yeah.
And it was largely because of a man who passed away much too young, Bruce Gordon, a longtime Imagineer. And what he and the other people did under Diane Disney Miller's watchful eye was they created like a Disneyland style attraction about Walt Disney. And that's how I think of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not for kids. It's not for kids, but it's a wonderful living tribute to what Walt and his brother Roy accomplished.
Well, again, I really do feel that you just feel the heart in things. I think that there are times you walk into something and you say, "Oh my God, this was so lovingly curated." Whoever did this really took the time and cared so much about what you were going to see and feel. And you got to love that. And I hope that in time it shifts because I think it should.
I mean, it can evolve.
Yeah,
and it should evolve.
Yeah, several of you are mentioning that you really love the Jim Cummings interview. I'm so glad.
That makes us happy.
Our new episode of the podcast is up, and we had Jim Cummings on. Jim Cummings, if you don't know the name offhand, is one of the, and I will say prolific, probably one of the most prolific voice actors of our time. And if you look him up, he's been in everything ever, just all of it. Anytime there's a cartoon, inevitably he's somewhere in it. Even if it's like additional voices, coughing, he's somewhere in there. One of the ways a lot of people know him is he's Pete. When you have Mickey Mouse and the whole gang, Pete there, he does that voice. He was the dad in Pocahontas. He was,
he's Winnie the Pooh
and Tigger.
Two voices he inherited from Sterling Holloway and Paul Winchell.
Yep, and just a whole bunch of others and. Darkwing Duck, which is great. Lots and lots and lots and lots. Yeah, he's a Tasmanian devil. As I say, lots and lots and lots and lots and lots. And he's just so much fun to be with because there too, he very much understands. Because I've seen him in the wild with fans, and I said to him, I said, you get it. You understand what they want. He says, well, I don't ever want to disappoint anybody. And you go, yeah, that's the mentality that keeps you working, that makes people want to be with you. He's one who goes to a lot of those conventions, a lot of the cons, sign stuff. He understands that if somebody comes up and they are meeting Winnie the Pooh, or again, any of these other characters, he's one of the voices on Gummy Bears, like everything. There's a real connection. And I love that he takes it seriously. I love that it means something to him. So we had a blast. And then my dad did his show. So it's on YouTube, but also as a podcast. And it's called Talkin' Tunes. I think it's called Talkin' Tunes.
I think so.
You can just look it up, Jim Cummings, and you'll see. I don't know when they're going to post the episode, but yeah.
Nick is
and
saying,
thank you, Ken. Ken says it's great to be on your Patreon. We really appreciate that, Ken. Thank you.
Thank you for being there.
Yeah.
Nick is reminding us that Jim's first voice credit for Disney was on Dumbo's Circus, where he was the voice of Timothy the Mouse.
And he talked about that. That's one of the first things he talked about.
Another voice he inherited because in the original film, the 1941 film, it was done by a character actor named Edward Brophy, whose face would be familiar to any old movie buff, and was kind of excitable and high-pitched. And of course, Jim nailed it. He nailed it, as he does with everything he takes on.
Yeah. But again, he cares. He cares really deeply. And that makes such a significant difference. Thank you. Sean says, Barbara Streisand Bridge, that should be a shrine to Barbara. It can be at the end of a pilgrimage for gays where they get to light a candle, a lavender scented candle, then a priest can bless them. That's what I'm saying, Sean. That's what I'm saying.
Or perhaps a rabbi.
Maybe a rabbi. Fair. True. Very true. Nailed it. Yeah. As I say, I just want some show. I want some show. This is the thing I feel. It's kind of like every year at the Oscars, they change stuff up. And when you walk in the entryway, the red carpet, all of that. Well, when they tried to take the red carpet away and they made it that beige that they dared to call champagne. And it's like, no, we want a red carpet. We want that red carpet. We want that pomp and circumstance. We want that because, regardless of how you feel about Hollywood and the chaos of Hollywood, there are certain things that do have a history and have a meaning. And that's the thing about Oscars is you get excited when you see one. There is something special about it. Hell,
yes.
To go back to we were talking earlier about the Olympics. It's like that, to see a gold medal, silver medal, bronze medal. There's only so many of those in the world.
Yep.
There's only so many Oscars in the world. And the idea that you get to see one or hold one.
First time I held one, it's memorable. It's a memorable thing to get to hold. Everyone says the same thing.
Yeah.
It's so heavy.
Victoria, let me tell you how little that champagne carpet hid stains. She says the champagne carpet is better because it hides stains. No, girl, it did not. And that was part of the problem. And it was so funny, but they were trying to clean. They're trying to clean it as things were going on because it was getting so dirty. Yeah, Doug, I get a little passionate. You may not know that about me, just a little passionate. Woof. Sorry, I'm looking to see. I would love to interview all of those people, Ricky. Ricky says we should interview Danny Glover, Tony Danza, Christopher Lloyd, Julie Andrews, Dick Van Dyke, Jim Dale, and Mel Gibson, and Danny DeVito.
Okay.
Yes.
Line them up.
Put them out there for us, and we'll do it. Do you know who I have a new one that I'm going to try for? Because I found on IMDb Pro, there is information for it. Dana Ivey.
Wonderful actress.
I'm going to try because...
one of those character actors whose face even if you don't know their name.
But I said to my dad the other day, it was one of those that popped in my head. I thought, oh, she's not working that much. I wonder why. Is she just older and doesn't want to, or what is it? So I'm going to try calling her manager and see what they say to me, if anything, because you never know until you try, right? You have to ask. Who's on next week's show? I don't know because we haven't recorded it yet. August. Yeah. Next, we have one in like a week that we're doing an interview for, but I don't think we have anyone this week.
We do.
Do we?
Just have to nail down time.
Who? You can say it.
All right. John Burlingame.
Oh, John. Yeah. That. Why are you hiding that as if that's a thing?
No, we usually don't announce ahead of time.
Yes.
John has a new book out called Dreamsville.
Yes.
About the TV series Peter Gunn, Blake Edwards' TV series Peter Gunn. It's the first time that they worked together, and they had a marriage, a relationship that lasted for decades.
Yeah.
And he did all of Blake Edwards' scores. Yeah. And wonderful scores they were.
Yeah. Doug says they could at least have a 50-foot Oscar in front of the building, a la Hard Rock. How many people would show up to take that photo? That's the thing. Everybody would want to go take that picture. Who wouldn't? Yes, Dick Van Dyke does live in California. He does not like doing interviews. I've asked many times, and that's a no for that one. Tom Kenny, we just saw Tom Kenny at Comic-Con, got to give him a big hug. I love him. And he is super shy when it comes to interviews. I've asked him before, and he goes, "Oh, I don't think I'd be good for an interview." I said, "You really would," and he just fights me on it. But he's lovely, and I adore him, and I would love it if one day we could have him on. If you don't know who Tom is, he's the main thing he's known for is being the voice of SpongeBob SquarePants. But he's another one who's worked for a very, very long time, and he's just a blast to be with.
Yes, I know there's an upcoming American Masters documentary on Blake Edwards that debuts August 27th, and I'm in it. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm in it. Yeah.
We had a very funny moment, actually, at Comic-Con. We were on the IMDb boat, which is very amusing. And we were getting our pictures taken. And as we were wrapping, the SpongeBob cast came in. including Clancy Brown, who we have had on the show. I love Clancy Brown. And a bunch of these guys come in, and it was just say we always see Tom Kenny at Comic-Con. He also lives in LA, but we never see him here.
Yeah.
We see him at Comic-Con. And you and Mommy got to sit with him for a while and have a really nice conversation. I was chasing Daisy.
He is a demon film buff.
He is. He's great. I'll try again. I'll try emailing him again. He always says no, but I'll try anyway. I hear the Palm Springs Marilyn Monroe statue is looking for a new home. Again, I'm just saying, man. There are a lot of options here. There are a lot of options.
I've not yet seen the Elizabeth Taylor documentary.
Yeah.
But I'm curious about it. I've read a little about it.
Yeah.
And I'm curious. I got to interview her once in 1989.
She looks so great in that picture.
Yes, she does.
So fabulous.
She was only 2 hours late, and I was told that we got off easy. But we were anticipating it.
Yeah.
The crew and I.
Yeah.
So
I love it. We knew she was going to be late. We just worked with it. Craig says, I appreciated your book roundup. Thank you. It just went up today, guys. There's a new book roundup on the website. I told you.
You didn't.
You asked me earlier.
No.
You said, did you post today? I said, sure did. And then I said, did you get the email blast?
We didn't have that conversation.
We definitely did.
Okay.
But it's okay. Sometimes when Daisy's around and yelling, it's hard to hear. Yes, I posted the book piece this morning. And it's got 5 books that you read, and then I think 4 books that you're interested in but haven't had time to get to yet, but still wanted to help get the word out. He said he loved the Elaine May biography and enjoyed the Griffin Dunn book that you did not include. Have you read the Griffin Dunn book?
Yet.
Not yet. He always has a stack. That's why. So people will say, I'd really love to send your dad my book. Would that be possible? And I try to explain as politely as possible that it is literally, he's always got at least 4, 5, 6 on his table at all times. And he does his best to get through them. And you are a voracious reader. You read very quickly, show off. But yeah, there's so much. And what was the really big one you just finished? The physically really big one that you just finished?
Oh, the one I read for fun?
Yeah.
Oh, the Power Broker.
You're not allowed to read for fun. Yeah. But
Robert Caro's Pulitzer Prize winning The Power Broker, about Robert Moses, the man who reshaped New York City and environs.
Yeah.
That is, well, it's considered a modern classic, and it earns that.
Yeah.
It's a staggeringly good book, and that doesn't need me to say that.
No, but you enjoyed it.
Yeah, very.
You're allowed to
Very
just enjoy it.
Yep.
Yeah, it's tricky. So one second. I can probably guess the Blake Edwards American Masters doc will spend over 10 minutes on Mickey Rooney's problematic role in Breakfast at Tiffany's.
I disagree.
Man, who knows? Oh, who knows? It's so tricky. We were having this conversation a little earlier because something that has one of the books, though you said it's not much of a book, it's thinner than that, is about Chaplin. And I said, I've more and more recently, I see people speaking about Chaplin and Hitchcock negatively because of who they were as people. Hitchcock was just, from some accounts, he was cruel to his actors and actresses, specifically his actresses. He could be quite cruel with them. Chaplin, as we know, really liked underage girls. Whoops.
And married one.
Yeah.
So she turned 18.
Yes.
That was Una O'Neill, Eugene O'Neill's daughter.
Yeah. And I was saying to my dad,
who disinherited her.
Yeah. It'll be really interesting to see sort of in the coming years how that goes and what happens with it. By which I mean, will people try to pretend that their work exists? Will people tell you that you shouldn't be watching Charlie Chaplin, shouldn't be watching Hitchcock? Because nowadays that's sort of how people are. It's very much the black and white, which is if it shouldn't exist, it shouldn't exist, pretend it never happened. So I will be sort of curious to see it, as I say, with time, where that goes. You know the way we feel about this. It can be very hard to separate art from artists. And so I think that every single person has to do their own, they have to figure it out for themselves. You have to figure out for yourself what you like and what you don't, and what you can handle and what you can't.
Yep.
And nobody can tell you that. But as I say, because it's been a conversation that's been more and more frequent, I'm just sort of intrigued. So we'll see. What goodies do you have today, Mr.
A
Maltin?
little miscellaneous. These are
just a little miscellaneous.
recent acquisitions.
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah. Ryan's asking, do you sometimes read books more than once? He usually doesn't have time.
No.
Is the answer.
I can only, in good conscience, bring small things into this house. We are so jam-packed and so cluttered, and so much stuff now has to be hidden from little Daisy's busy hands and inquiring eyes.
The girl likes to touch stuff. What can I
But
tell you?
there's room for this. It's a
Was
wooden,
this the one that just came?
yeah, it's a wooden ruler promoting stage door at the
Human desire to see the best suggests a wilder theater. This ruler belongs to blank. Do not take it away.
Yeah.
Newport Theater, Coley Theater, Norfolk, Virginia, Portsmouth, Virginia, and then Roanoke, Virginia, and Newport News, Virginia. There you go.
But the main thing is make it the rule to see stage door at the Newport Theater.
Arthur says donate it to the Academy Archives. They need it.
I have about 6 movie tie-in rulers.
Yeah. Yes, you do.
Yes, I certainly
Yes,
do.
you do.
Here's a multi-purpose. This is an ink blotter, as you see from the back here. It's also a 6-inch ruler and a straight edge, but primarily it's a promo for the 1935 version of Les Miserables with Frederick March and Charles Laughton.
So you would blot your ink on this side of it,
Mhm.
and then look at
And then,
that.
and then go to Lowe's State.
Week of May 17th. I love it. I love it.
And then, of course, there are matchbooks.
And they're tiny. Can never have too many of those.
So, the Great Ziegfeld is the sensation of the century. You do that better than I do.
All right. Hang on. So yeah,
Both
it says,
sides.
watch The Great Ziegfeld, an MGM picture. The Great Ziegfeld is the sensation of the century. 50 stars, 300 girls. Says it right there. 300 girls. Hang on.
And I love old radio as well as old movies. So this is really a radio related matchbook. So it's for
Here is your ticket to the Tums Vocal Varieties radio program. After meals, Tums.
and show how
I will.
it's shaped like a ticket.
And when you
or
open
designed
it,
like
it
a
looks like
a
this.
ticket. And what harm can these little objets
Barely
do?
even notice them. Barely even notice them. I love your stuff. I do.
I do too.
I love your stuff.
Last night, we live in the age of streaming
Mhm.
and video on demand and all that. I still find, and my wife and I both find that we still have a gene that seems to have disappeared from the collective DNA of passivity, in the sense that we were having dinner, decided to see what was on TCM, and what was on was Red River, Howard Hawks' great film Red River, with John Wayne, Montgomery Clift in his film debut, Walter Brennan, Joanne Drew, John Ireland, Noah Beery Jr., Harry Carey Sr. and Harry Carey Jr. They don't share any scenes.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, we haven't seen it in a while. So that's what we watched. Now, I have a Blu-ray or a DVD somewhere of Red River. I have a Criterion edition, I believe, of Red River. I could go and watch it anytime.
You could, but you won't.
It happened to be on. Because it happened to be on, we watched it.
Sometimes that's all it takes, you know? No, I'm the same way, and it's ridiculous at times. I'll watch something, I go, no, I really want to see such and such, but it requires getting up and going over there and finding the DVD. or I could just watch the crap that's on in front of me. Option B. Leonard, do you have any inside scoop on when we can expect to see the 1928, 1929 silent shorts of Laurel and Hardy on Blu-ray?
Soon. In the works. 1927 is out and over and done and available. 1928 is imminent. I can't give you a month. I know that it is being produced right now as we speak, and it will be here soon.
There you go. You heard the man. So yeah, we will not be here next weekend because we will be at D23. If you're going to be at D23, come say hi. We'll be around. We're doing on Friday the photo and autograph meet and greet. I think it's like 2 something. I'll post this stuff on Saturday morning. So it's tricky because they still haven't announced a lot of the hosts of things. But I think being that it is this week and you're definitely doing it, I feel a little bit more confident in saying something. Saturday, my dad's going to be the moderator of a panel about the 1964-65 World's Fair with Becky Klein, Pete Docter, who else? Or is it just the 2 of them initially?
No, I think there's 4 or 5 people.
Okay. And then there are 2 special guests that will come out that we can't tell you about for that panel. And then,
And as you know, Walt Disney was commissioned to design and build major pavilions and attractions for that fair. And I think all 4 of the key things he did for that fair were later transferred to Anaheim. And so, the World of Tomorrow, I always got that name wrong. Sorry, guys. A little slow. It's a Small World. And the other 2.
and the other one.
Yeah.
So that is
I'll
on
be
Saturday in
I'll
the
be
morning.
I'll be better prepared.
And then Saturday afternoon, he's doing another meet and greet, which they have a place called Talent Central. And there's a little table and a little line, and you can line up and take his picture and get an autograph signed. And I will take the picture for you. You'll love it. It'll be great. And then on Sunday, we are both a part of the Richard Sherman tribute. They're calling a Jolly Holiday, the something of Richard Sherman. And we'll be a part of that. And I don't know who they've announced for that, so I won't say anything. But I know we're in it, and that I can tell you. So we're a piece of that, and it's I'm honored that we get to be a part of celebrating Richard. I've already decided that the first thing I'm going to say is welcome to the denial part of the show, where I tell you he's not gone because I refuse to believe he's gone. But yeah, so we'll be there. And like that.
Oh, Mr. Lincoln.
Oh, there you go. Of course.
Was at the Illinois
Pavilion
before he came to the Hall of Presidents at Disneyland.
That's right. Well, there you go. Anyway, folks, I say if you see us, come say hi, or don't. Your call. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back that following week.
Yep.
Don't ask me when because I can't math. Everybody, please take care of yourselves, and we'll see you very soon.
And be kind.